We're live.
I'll see what I can do.
Hey, Facebook people. This is Linda Marcus Smith, and today we have one of my good buddies in the comedy world, Dark Mark. Dark Mark, welcome.
Thank you, Linda. Good buddy. Everybody knows what that means. Wink, wink.
I met you in Portland at the comedy festival Dante and his wife Rebecca Koken put on, Dante Rescatelli.
Which was wonderful. And I don't know if you've seen, but Dante and Rebecca have been collecting money and using their own money and paying the comics that they represent, which I think is great.
Oh my gosh.
I hope to be doing an interview with them myself, and I encourage you to reach out to them. I'm sure they would love to do it. Just great people. And they put on, oddly enough, it's the only comedy festival I've ever been accepted to.
Wow. That's crazy.
I've been, but not the only festival, because I've played a lot of goth festivals. I'm the goth comedian, if people don't know. I'm Dark Mark, the goth comedian.
Yes.
A lot of rock and roll festivals, a lot of Renaissance festivals, crazy stuff, but never like a comedy. They're scared of me. I don't know. It's the eyeliner. I don't know. And by the way, I've been quarantined for 3 weeks. So this is, I normally shave and look a little better than this, but it's only going to get worse, folks. You look better than ever. I look a mess.
Thank you. No, you look great. After the quarantine, we're all going to be like virgins again. Even Madonna will look fresh.
Even you?
Madonna?
Oh, Madonna's going to be a virgin again, too. I was going to say, this is what I was saying before is Linda was just turned 69. You wouldn't know it by looking at her. Beautiful.
Thanks.
And just when I met you when you were fresh 68, and you were and I was just knocked out by your looks and by how funny and charming you were.
Thank you.
And on your 69th birthday, like the whole week, and I understand we were all bored and socially distancing from everybody, but you were really fishing for compliments, and I was giving you all sorts of compliments. And I was saying that once this quarantine lifts, I'm gonna drive to Vegas and
bang me.
Real 69 is, and you were like, no. I adore you. You're the greatest, but no. You're too young for me. You're like, no. Apparently, other guys had flirted with you a little better on your 69th birthday.
Oh, trust me. You're right in there. You're right in the money.
I'm in no money, but that's why I'm doing this. I'm on Facebook Live.
You're the reason I got booked on my first show here in Vegas, because you stood up and in the middle of your set told the whole crowd about me.
Yeah. How did that go? That was Steve McAnally's show at the Pawn Stars. Rick from Pawn Stars owns a great barbecue place.
Yeah.
They have comedy every Wednesday. Steve McAnally, shout out. And another great Vegas comedian. And I shouted you out, and you got booked. How did that work out?
It went great. I mean, he said that I killed, and I've gotten 3 more bookings out of it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Did you kill?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
I can kill if I know the audience. Like in Portland, it's hard to kill for some people.
For some people, it's a way different audience. Portland and Las Vegas, 2 completely different audiences. For me, in my act, Vegas is more difficult. I could still do it, but in Portland, they're kind of more on my vibe. But the rain's a lot, and people are just kind of. It's weird because I'm in LA now, and I moved. I lived in Vegas for a while. I moved back to LA, and it's funny because when you're on Tinder and you're looking for girls in Las Vegas, in LA, half the Tinder profiles say, "If you like Trump, swipe left."
Wow.
In Vegas, it's the exact opposite. They're like, if you don't like Trump, swipe left. So it's a whole different thing, and I think the goth thing kind of confuses people. It makes people weird. In Las Vegas, they get over it, and sometimes I have enough. I've been doing it a long time, and I have enough material that I can steer it whatever way I want. But in Portland, it's just they're eating out of my hand. They're definitely in that vibe.
Yes.
Although I did scare a few people in Portland when I was there. Outside of the show, I was walking home at like 3 a.m. and this woman was on the sidewalk, and she was like puking. She drank too much, and she's like, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. And her boyfriend, you're not gonna die. I walk up. I'm in full makeup. She's like, oh my God, it's the Grim Reaper. Hopefully I scared her straight. Then the last night I didn't have makeup on because I wasn't performing, and I got off the bus, and this guy comes up to me. He's like, man. And he's like, oh yeah. He's like, man, you're white and you're scaring the crap out of me. So I don't know what it is about me, but it scared the crap out of me. But I love Portland. Now let me ask you a question.
Go right ahead.
Because I'm curious about this. Now, you were in Portland for how long?
My whole life, except for when I went in the military and raised a daughter. I was in Florida and Seattle with raising a daughter. So
Okay.
About 50 years.
50 years. Why Las Vegas rather than Los Angeles or New York or Seattle or San Francisco? Why Las Vegas? Why did you move to Las Vegas?
Okay, well, two things. I had brain trauma, so I choose not to drive. That's just my personal choice. Because there's sometimes that I don't think that I would be that good. I might overreact if a car comes near me, right?
Okay.
A little PTSD. Right. The other thing is I came here on a visit to visit my good friend Stephen Pearl.
Right.
And when I was here, he took me around to all the clubs and introduced me to all the comics and owners. And I was like, what the hell am I doing in Portland? And every time I tell the same sets I told in Portland, here in Vegas, I get told I'm killing here. And it's the same stuff I did there. But when the crowd is with you, who would want to go back to Portland? It's not my kind of crowd. They don't seem to accept me like I'm accepted here.
Oh, I don't know about that. You do well in Portland, too. You're selling yourself short, and they love you in Portland. But that's the other thing. I saw that you did a Facebook Live with Stephen Pearl, and I don't know if I'm right after him or it's a tough act to follow because Stephen Pearl, if people don't know, is maybe one of the top 20 funniest people I've ever seen in my life. And hopefully I'll be able, because I'm doing Zoom shows myself. My podcast, Dark Mark Show, keeps going on. So hopefully I actually was going to reach out to Steve and do a real long, hour-long interview with him, really get in depth, because the man's fascinating. He's somebody that never got a sitcom, never really got that much TV exposure, but like Robin Williams stole his jokes.
Yep.
And they paid him afterwards. I mean, that's how funny he is. He was and still is.
That's right.
So I very much admire. And when I first moved to LA, I did a show with him, and I was just blown away.
Yeah, he's got one of those memories too, like the girl on Taxi with the red hair. Can't remember.
Mary Lou Henner.
Yeah, Mary Lou Henner. He's got instant recall of everything, and so when he riffs, he can riff better than anyone because of his recall.
Right. Right. But I mean, he just is, and it's funny because it's not. It took me, and this was a learning lesson, because when I moved to LA, I was very young. I just out of college, and seeing him, I'm like, this guy's a wizard. I don't understand what he's doing.
I know
how he can do this. Then when you see it a few times, and I'm not disparaging him because I think he's the greatest, but you see the technique and you see some jokes that you heard before, and he's putting in different contexts, and you can put the puzzle pieces together.
Yes.
And once you do comedy for a long time, I can do that with every single comic. I can watch a special, and I'm not saying I can do what everybody does, but
right.
I can see how they do what they do. The only comic that I watch and I'm like, I don't know how they got there, which was one of my heroes in comedy, but not in life at all, because he's a scumbag, was Bill Cosby.
Yep.
And Bill Cosby, when I was a kid, I used to listen to those records, and I still listen to those records. I'm like,
me too.
I don't understand why I'm laughing, but I'm laughing. And people go with he does and he does all the mugging and stuff, but it's more than that. He has a weird comedy that I've just never been able to figure out. I can listen to Richard Pryor, who's obviously one of the best. Anybody, it's Bill Burr, anybody, and you're like, okay, I can't do what he does, but I see how he's getting there.
Exactly.
He's getting there.
Yeah, when I watch,
I don't know where that comes from, but it's perfect.
Yeah, when I got to go with Stephen Pearl to a lot of his shows, And I was like, what the hell is he doing? What the hell is he doing? Finally, I got it. And you know what the secret with him is? He's the same off stage as he on stage.
Really?
It is. So like when you're just talking, you knock on his door to go for a ride with him, to go to a club, he just goes for it, goes for the jugular, right? No matter where you're at. He's just...
You need Steve Pearl, not Bill Cosby.
Yeah. I don't...
You're accusing me there.
I don't remember.
Very different off stage than he is on.
Yeah, I love Stephen Pearl because, you know, like he's a real person that is the same on and off stage. So like you're looking for something more, and it's just, that's just who he is. That's how he thinks.
Well, the best comics, what they are on stage is really what they are in life. The best comics to me, everybody's got an opinion. Some guys like comics that have an affect or what have you. I like people that are just, you know, it's an extension of who they are, and I really like very personal comedy, which you don't, honestly, I don't see that much angst. I don't see a lot much personal comedy these days, and that's where you get a lot of people stealing each other's jokes. If you talk about your own life, nobody can steal that.
Exactly.
That's you. I mean, nobody's going to be doing brain trauma jokes and stealing from you.
No, I don't even want to do them anymore.
Don't do them. But I think it's funny. But I think when you do it, it's funny. If I were to do it, it would not be funny. But you know, that's just me. But
so, what made you, Dark Mark, get into comedy, and what made you go after dark comedy or dark? You know, the dark. And
well,
comedian Miss Arkansas here in Vegas told me to tell you hello.
I love Miss Arkansas. Tell her I said hi. I look forward to working with her soon.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I love Miss Arkansas.
And I bet you Stephen Pearl will want to be on your show for a whole hour. You'll get so much.
I hope so. I'll when we get off here, I'll tell him you said hi, and I'll tell him we'll get on it. I've actually got some interesting guests book. I have tomorrow. I'm doing an interview with a BBW porn star, Alexis Allure.
Wow.
And then I've got a dominatrix that I've interviewed before, who was very popular, Bossy Delilah, and we're going to interview her this week. And then next week, Diane Franklin, who was in the movie Better Off Dead and Last American Virgin, really one of the premier '80s teen idols. I've had her on my show before. She said she's coming on next week. And tomorrow on YouTube, it's already on the podcast channels, my interview with Daniel Roebuck, who has been on every single movie that you've ever thought of. He was in The Fugitive, he was in Final Destination, he was in Rob Zombie's Halloween. He's in everything. So he's got great stories about Keanu Reeves, Dennis Hopper, Tommy Lee Jones. They'll be on YouTube tomorrow, and it's on the podcast stations tonight.
Wow.
So after the shameless plug, how I got into comedy, it's in me. It's I started doing comedy. The first time I was on stage was 7th grade.
What?
Yes. They had a talent show in junior high. And by the way, from kindergarten to 6th grade, I would have loved social distancing. I was very antisocial. I was just into books and reading, and I was a nerd when nerds actually got beat up. Wow. And I got beat up a lot. Partially because I was a nerd, partially because of the usual, and partially because I was a jerk. I made a very valiant attempt not to fit in and not to really communicate with people. And when I went to 7th grade, we moved to Colorado. I was in Florida. Moved to Colorado. I discovered a social life. I discovered girls. I was going through puberty. And I got a little social. They had a talent show. And I love stand-up comedy. And I said, I will do stand-up comedy. And they had me audition. They're like, okay, tell a couple jokes. I told a couple jokes. They're like, okay, you can do stand-up. And the 7th grade and 8th grade, I did stand-up and just destroyed.
Wow.
Everybody else was doing like air bands, dressing like kids. They were doing, like marionette things. They were doing, gymnastics, whatever. I did stand-up comedy 7th and 8th grade, and the place just went crazy. My sister told me that there was I think it was the 8th grade when I did it. There was a pregnant teacher, and she just was watching her her belly just go up and down because she was laughing so hard.
Oh my
So it's
gosh.
something I always wanted to do. And
So where did you go? Like, what year was it, and what club was your first club?
okay, well, so fast forward to I'm 19, and my cousin Dave, and shout out to Dave. I don't think he has a Facebook, but he's not on that much. So he wanted to be in show business. He was trying to be an actor. And then they had a comedy contest. We were in San Diego, which is where I grew up. That's where I became. That's where I went to college. That's where I went to high school. So we went to. So they had at the Comedy Store in La Jolla. They had a comedy contest. So first I was going to write his jokes for him or collaborate with him, and he was going to do it. Then it turned out, okay, you do a set, I do a set. Then it turned out he didn't want to do a set, so I just did a set, and I bombed my first time on stage. I wouldn't say bomb because I've seen and have bombed worse than that since. My material that I wrote was awful because I didn't know, I wasn't writing for myself. I was just writing about the news topics of the day. No technique. I was 19. I had no perspective, nothing. So, but then I started joking about how bad I was doing in front of the crowd, and some of that got laughs. But yeah, it was weird because they had to walk because I was 19. They had to walk me in the club and walk me out. I didn't know that because I would have gone right the next day and tried to do some more, but I thought you had to wait till you're 21. Actually, Dante was underage and he was going to the Comedy Store and he became a regular, and around the same time.
Wow.
So, yeah. So then it took me a long time to get into the Comedy Store. And this is not the dark comedy you're talking about, but this is a different dark comedy. So I couldn't get into the Comedy Store. There were a couple other clubs at the time. Now San Diego's like there's tons of clubs around. So in San Diego, but my friend Jerry Lee, I don't even know if he's still doing comedy. I don't even know if he's still around. But he said there's a club that we do. It's called Smokies. The basketball coach for San Diego State, Smokey Gaines, owned the club. He's like, come down. And it was all black. I walk in. Sorry, that's my candelabra. So
I want to see it. Wow, I love it.
So I walk in, and I'm the bartender, and I are the only white people in the place. And then the host is like, "Don't say the N-word." Like I wasn't thinking about it. Like we had a white guy a couple weeks ago. He got beat up, and like it wouldn't even cross my mind. So I killed for 5 minutes.
Wow.
Unfortunately, I was supposed to do 7. And I did a joke that didn't work out. I tried to talk my way out of it, and they moved me off stage. They literally started throwing things, and they had to take me off stage. So I went back the next week and killed.
Oh, wow.
Destroyed. And I became a regular at that club. Like it was what they would do is they would take comedians from L.A., the hottest. So I opened for like Cedric the Entertainer, like all sorts of people coming down from L.A. And so there was 4 local comics that would go up every week before them to warm up the crowd, and I was one of them. And there was still a couple people that never accepted me, but the rest of the crowd loved me so much that what are they going to do? They'll listen to the background. That's it. So then I finally got into the Comedy Store, and then I went to LA, and I've gone all over the country and just basically done that. Now, how did I get into goth?
Yeah.
And dark comedy? Because I've always had a dark, weird sense of humor and just sensibilities. But San Diego is where I discovered the goth scene, oddly enough, in that beach, happy town, San Diego. I was out one night. This will date you, but I was actually the Friday night. I just got off work, and I was tired. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go rent a video. So I went to the video store. Next to the video store, they had a bar that was having a goth night. I saw all these pasty white girls walking in with this tight leather and these weird outfits and corsets and bondage outfits. And I said, I gotta check that out. And I walked in, and the music was amazing, just the vibe was amazing. And I was like, I gotta go here. The problem was, once again, I was still young, I think, yeah, and so I thought, well, I'm going to stand out. I'm not going to wear black. I'm going to wear bright colors. And, that was mistake number one. So I figured it out, got my whole goth on, and I haven't looked back. Most people, most people get in the goth phase are 15-year-old girls. They outgrow it in 6 months. And I haven't outgrown it. I've met some of the most amazing people in the goth and fetish world and gotten material that from my act that I just wouldn't have gotten otherwise, and a perspective that I just wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And, like I say, if people, what you got to do is you got to get people in, you got to get them laughing at first, and then when they're laughing, then they're along for the story. And I love when I'm able to do really long sets so I can really get into it and tell people the whole story. And, I've had a couple albums out. I've done some festivals, and just, when I'm headlining or when I'm doing an hour show, it just, people really, they don't have to be goth at all, but they're just along for the ride.
I've seen Portland crowd, very conservative, politically correct, die laughing when you're up there doing your stuff.
So, are they really politically correct, though, in Portland?
Well,
more hippie and anarchist.
Like when I say politically correct, like, oh, you shouldn't talk about that group, or you shouldn't talk about that group,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And you just have to push past it,
Well, but there's a way to do it. There's a way to do it, and that's the thing that everybody's like, if you're coming from your own perspective, and your own perspective is not racist or not sexist, then what you say is going to come across. If what you are is racist and sexist, it's going to come across too.
Yes.
So
yes,
that's what it is, and people. It's amazing the fake outrage that people had over Dave Chappelle's special last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard a lot of comments were like, "Oh, they're trying to censor him." Like, nobody was trying to censor him. There's not one person that said they censored him. There were some people like, "All right, I didn't like the jokes," but I didn't. There was nobody censoring him. He won a Grammy. It was the biggest comedy special of the year. His publicist must have got so much money because they totally fed into that. And the person that wrote the article about how he's picking on transsexuals or what have you, I guarantee that was planted. I guarantee it.
Wow.
And it's very smart on Dave Chappelle's part. It's the thing. It's the weirdest thing though, because and I use this as an example all the time, and it's funny because there's a YouTube clip. I filmed a documentary in Las Vegas that I think is coming out this year.
Really?
Now the guy has all the time in the world to edit it, and it's about comedy. And I'm blanking on the name of it right now, but and I'm sorry about that. But I filmed it, and he saw me in Vegas, and he saw me I did some really outrageous joke that the crowd just died at. And he's like, "I want you to be part of my documentary." And so I filmed it, and I filmed it like 3 years ago, and I think it's coming out. But he put a clip on YouTube of me out of context, and it's the worst clip you could use out of context, because my whole point of the documentary is there are things that you can say, and then there are things you can't say, and it's so weird that they kind of cross, because a lot of people are like, oh, you can't say this or that, but they love roast battles, and they love roasts, which are as racist, sexist as you can get if you let them. And what I've seen on roast battles and roasts are just, if you did said that in a regular set, they would just people would go crazy.
Yeah.
And basically what I said on the special was there's only two words that really have shock value in this day and age, which are the N-word and the C-word. And I said the words. They put that clip out of context on YouTube. I'm like, oh, dude.
Oh, no.
In context, it's fine, but you can't, yeah. So.
Yes.
But hopefully that comes out, and, and people will see it in context. Luckily, not too many people have seen it on YouTube. I shouldn't even point it out.
Well, at least you're open about it.
Well, I mean, I was just trying. I was making a point, and and I think people, when they see it in context, will get the point.
Yes.
But my point, and I said it on the documentary, and I've said it before, is you can't say Oriental on stage.
No.
Yet every comic I know under 30 has rape jokes.
Exactly.
And I don't have rape jokes. And if a rape joke's funny, fine. I haven't heard too many that are. I know George Carlin had a bit about it. It was kind of funny, but I don't do jokes about rape because I don't rape.
Exactly.
I talk about my life. But, I guess, if you find that funny and that is genuinely part of your thinking and you have a way to express it where it's funny, I don't care.
Yeah.
But the fact that everybody has one, it's a little too much.
Yeah.
For me.
So for the people that are on here that are newer comics, there are no shortcuts, but what have you learned in all your years of comedy that could be a real help to younger comics?
Oh boy, there are no shortcuts.
There aren't.
Well,
Thank God.
First off, I don't think there ever were.
No.
I mean, we were talking about Stephen Pearl, who's brilliant, one of the comic geniuses of our time, and he's made a living at it. But I remember, honestly, I shouldn't say this out of school, but I know when there were times where he's hurt for money, and that he should never have to hurt for money.
Exactly.
I know he struggled when he lived in LA. So, and the man, he should be getting the Mark Twain Prize. He should be getting government grants. They should say, you're so brilliant, we're going to take care of you for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
That's how brilliant he is, not me.
Yeah.
I have to work for it, but and I have worked for it. Well, first, when people ask me, they're thinking about doing comedy. When people ask me about it, my first question to them is, "Are you funny?" You'd be surprised how many people don't give an immediate yes.
Wow.
Like I don't know. I think so. Some people tell me I am. Blah blah blah. I don't know. Maybe I can learn. I also say a lot that comedy is where it's what indie rock and rap used to be. Now there's no music industry. You can't make any money on music. So a lot of people that would have performed punk bands, indie bands, or been rappers are doing comedy now. When I was in New Orleans doing comedy, half the comics were failed white rappers.
Jeez.
There's no music industry. And now there's no live performance at all. So hopefully that changes. But so people look at it, and when it's done right, when comedy's done right, it looks easy.
Yes.
My advice to young comics is it's not easy. And it's going to take years to figure it out. But you have to figure yourself out. And my advice, and trust me, I'm the last person to get advice from. I'm on Facebook Live at 3 in in my apartment in Silver Lake, my studio. So Silver Lake, I'm in Los Feliz. I don't even know where I'm at. I'm an eyeliner talking to you. After you said you like me as a friend. But
comedian Miss Arkansas says you're not a racist, that you love her, and she loves you, and she's black. And she knows you're...
I'm not a racist. I mean, I'm not. I'm glad she said that, but I don't need that validation. I already know that. And everybody who knows me knows that.
But she's trying to validate it.
No, but Miss Arkansas, you know that, and let me see what she responds to this. Miss Arkansas, you've seen white comics that probably are racist, although it's on the down low.
Yeah.
And pretend you like you, but
trying to sneak in jokes and act like, oh, it's just a joke, when underneath it, it's racism.
Well, that's the thing. People, that's the thing. If you're really racist, then you say something that's incorrect, or you're really sexist and you say something that's incorrect, or homophobic, or what have you, it's going to come out.
It'll show through.
Yeah, and I would say if you're racist, homophobic, or sexist, avoid those topics because it's going to get you in trouble.
Yeah.
And just do your thing. But I would say my advice to young comics is just get out there and do it. I mean, and play to as many crowds as you can. And the advice I have, here's the advice. I'm scared. You've got me all flustered. You are. My advice to young comics, and I say this to everybody, if you get stuck and you get bored with your act, and this is good for you, Linda. If you get stuck, you get bored with your act, and it feels roads, Write a new 10 minutes and do that 10 minutes. Don't do any old material, none. Do a fresh new 10 minutes. What may happen, and what frequently happens, is you get one joke out of it. If you get one joke or two out of it, those jokes are gold. And you can sprinkle them in with the rest of the act. I would also say that once you've been doing it for a few years, write a one-man show or one-woman show.
Why should somebody write a one-woman show or one-man show?
Well, this is if you do it for a few years and you've got maybe a half hour worth of material.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and which will take years. That'll take probably 5 years. Some people will more, some people will less. Because it really fleshes out who you are. It really gets you writing, and it gets you to where everything has a beginning, middle, and an end. And you really get to tell a story. And within that one person show, when you have other shows where you're doing 7-10 minutes, you can pluck pieces from it and do those just on their own. But it forces you to write where it's not joke. It forces you to write stories.
Got it.
Write actual life.
And then out of the stories, you can pull bits to use, pieces of it.
Sure. You have bits in the stories. Mm-hmm. I just did a storytelling, one of my last shows, I did a storytelling show with my friend Scott Schultz, who is an award-winning storyteller. Mm-hmm. And I did it was brand new. Although I've been telling these stories to friends, and I had a couple bits that I sprinkled in that I've done in my act. It was all about when I moved from Los Angeles to New Orleans, and I really expounded on it, and I did 10 minutes in it, and people, and it was an audience of storytellers, and they loved it.
Wow. So, if you tell stories, what's the secret to telling a story and keeping people laughing through the story?
Well, tell a funny story. That's the thing. When you write, write it out, write the story, try it on stage, because whatever you write, you're never going to know until you do it on stage. That's actually a good point that you're making, because the first time I did a one-man show, I did a show with myself. It was my friend and also good comic, Mike Muratori. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him.
No.
Mike Muratori. Anyway, he's the serial killer comedy. That's a whole different thing.
Wow.
So he did a show, then I did a show. So we rented the theater and we did 2 shows. It was his show and my show. And we both did 45 minutes. His stuff was joke. Mine started out with a poem. I did the whole thing. I didn't get a laugh for 8 minutes.
What?
Places where I was supposed to get a laugh. Obviously, the poem was supposed to be serious, but there were places where I was supposed to get a laugh. Didn't get a laugh for 8 minutes. And the last half of the show went well. Although it was still people, half the crowd walked out.
What?
And then the last half of the show went well. I rewrote it, did it again, and that was the basis for my my first one-man show. I have 17,652 female friends. I don't need any more, which is a dated title, but it was a terrific show, and I did that in theaters all over California, and it was great. I mean, I've been a theater pick of the week in LA Weekly, Backstage Magazine, and it's the secret to telling a story is you have to have the story first. Make sure you're okay. This is what I'm trying to tell: beginning, middle, and end. Otherwise, it's not a story.
Yeah.
But then you write that, and you may have funny things you put in first. But if you don't, put them in. But as I say, you try to write a story. I have a bit that probably I'll be retiring because it's very politically incorrect. But this is a story I tell. Everybody I've told this to thinks it's very funny, but it involves a mentally challenged man that I went to high school with, and I don't know how to do it now because you can't say the word retarded now.
Yeah.
But back then that was officially the diagnosis. But he dressed like Elvis, and it was a whole thing. I told the story. Every people I would tell the story to, they would crack up. I tried to do it on stage for years. I couldn't find it. And then I finally cracked it because I just tweaked it a little bit. I gave it a bit of an outsider perspective. And and it works. So you never know until you just try it on stage. I mean, that's basically the bottom line.
Yeah.
But I think especially you have such a fascinating story. And I told you this when I met you.
Tell me again.
I'm telling you again. Your life is fascinating. If you went and told somebody about your life, it's pretty extraordinary.
Thank you. I tried a one-woman show. I self-produced it, and had my friends and comic buddies come. I had like 10 people in the audience at a coffee shop.
Right.
And at the time, my memory was terrible. So I was having to flip pages and read, but my memory is much better now.
Well, good. No, I just think it takes work. It
Yes.
takes work to make it look effortless. When you see Stephen Pearl or somebody that's that great, it takes years. And young comics, whoever your favorite comic is, it took years to get to where they are, where it's so effortless.
You know who my favorite is? Rita Rudner.
Okay. Well, when Rhea Redner's on stage, and she does have a strange affect, but when she's on stage, you can tell. I mean, it's taken her so long to perfect it.
Yeah, because I think she's from the 70s.
When she broke out, she'd been doing it for a long time, and really, it took her a long time to get that good.
Yes.
Have you reached out to try to get her on interview her?
I have, and I haven't heard back yet.
All right.
Yeah.
You never know. I mean, everybody's just sitting around in their house. You might as well.
I know, right?
I've been emailing just every A-list celebrity, B-list celebrity I can think of, and no response yet. But if I get one,
that's it. Yeah.
I don't know if Daniel Roebuck, who's a very accomplished actor, and other people I've had on my show, but we'll see what happens.
Well, God bless you for taking time to be on here today, and I know
That's why we went over. It's what we always do when we start talking. It's never just 10 minutes. It's always we've done it for like a half an hour.
I know we could keep going if we wanted to, but I don't want to take all your time. And comedian,
be honest, you don't want to. It's been enough.
No, I do.
I'm kidding. It's a joke. It's a politically incorrect joke.
Okay. Well, I'll talk to you anytime. I'll do this every week with you. I think you're interesting. You think I'm fascinating. I think your story and who you are, people just begin to scratch the surface of getting to know you.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about my predilection for dating older women, because older women love me.
I know. You told me about that in Portland. Do you want to talk about that a little before you go here or another time?
Well, we'll talk about it right now.
Okay.
I've dated some extraordinary women over 60, a few of them. And people, and when you do that once, people think it's like a fetish. Like, people think I have like an old lady fetish, but I don't. Beauty's beauty. I'm very sapiosexual. I'm very, attracted to intelligence. And if I don't care how old somebody is, but the problem is that older women are attracted to me. That's pretty much it. They have to be over 60. I don't know if it's the glaucoma, except for you. You're the exception. I don't know if it's the glaucoma. I don't know if it's dementia. But once a woman hits 60, suddenly I'm attractive. I don't know what it is. So, anyway, but we'll save that for next time. But it's always a delight.
Always.
I wish I had some shows coming up that I can promote as far as live shows. I wish you had live shows to promote. But once this quarantine is lifted or what have you, social distancing, I hope you get all the gigs that you can.
Thank you so much.
I hope to be in Las Vegas soon, and hopefully we can do some shows together.
Yes. So, Dark Mark, excuse me.
I'm Goth Comedian on all social media. My real name is Mark White, so on Facebook I'm Mark White, although it says Dark Mark. The Dark Mark Show is my podcast, and if you listen to it now on Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, any of those, and I know you subscribe, so I know you listen. This week we have Daniel Roebuck, who's been in every movie that you can think of. He's been in 250 movies.
Jeez.
Got great stories. He almost was cast in Home Alone.
What?
You gotta listen to the episode. And then this week, and it's gonna be live on Renegade Radio Friday night at 9:00 Pacific, and then on all podcast channels on Sunday. BBW porn star Alexis Allure, and then we're gonna have Diane Franklin, who's an '80s she was in Belle and Ted's Excellent Adventure, all sorts of '80s great movies. Then we're going to have Bossy Delilah, the dominatrix, because I want to see how this social distancing is affecting porn stars and dominatrixes, because I'm worried about them.
Yes.
And I want to be there to comfort them. I wish I could hug all of them, but we're social distancing. And hopefully Stephen Pearl, too, because I don't have a lot of comics on, but there's one guy I would love to have on.
Yeah, and I bet he'd love to do it.
I'm sure he would, yeah.
Yeah, he's doing a radio show tomorrow, so hit him up.
I definitely will.
He's open to it, I'm sure.
All right, I love you, Linda.
Love you, Mark. See you later. Thank you.
On Facebook Live. I love you, Miss Arkansas.
Miss Arkansas says, I thought I was your favorite.
You're my favorite, Miss Arkansas.
You can do that. Okay, bye. Love you. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Bye. Well, that was Dark Mark White. The goth comic. I love him so much. I loved him from the minute I met him, when I met him in Portland at the comedy festival we had last year. He's just so real. And, like, you would think that being a dark goth comic, that people would be turned off by him, but they're not. They can feel his love. Oh, you are my favorite. You are my favorite comedian, Miss Arkansas, here in Vegas. You are my favorite. Yep. I love him, but I love him in a whole different way than you. I love you for so many different reasons. Yeah. See you real soon. Good luck on your move. Stay safe. Stay protected. I love all you guys. Stay positive. Bye.